In Longfellow's Song of Hiawatha, it is written that after the first white men had come as guests, Hiawatha bade farewell forever to his people. To old Nokomis, his grandmother, he said, "I am going, O Nokomis, on a long and distant journey to the portals of the sunset. But these guests I leave behind me, in your watch and ward I leave them. See that never harm comes near them, see that never fear molests them, never danger or suspicion, never want of food or shelter in the lodge of Hiawatha." And what of these guests of Hiawatha? How have their descendants fared through the years? The Minneapolis Star and Tribune have a well-loved columnist whose intimate knowledge of people and their accomplishments qualifies him as spokesman. Cedric Adams can unfold the exciting saga of modern Minnesota and the fortune of the upper Midwest, the land of Hiawatha.
Well, old Nokomis must have paid heed to Hiawatha's words, because the little handful of first settlers in the upper Midwest has grown to a vigorous population of over 4.5 million people. The upper Midwest is a 3 1/3 state area, including Minnesota, North and South Dakota, and 16 counties of western Wisconsin. A network of highways and railroads centering in Minneapolis binds this area of rich farmland, lakes, woods, and plains together into one economic unit. 10 trunk railroads, including 4 transcontinental lines, serve Minneapolis. More than 500,000 cars of freight are handled each year in this transportation hub. In air traffic, the Twin Cities metropolitan area ranks 7th in the nation. 5 airlines, 2 international, 2 national, and 1 regional, serve Wool Chamberlain International Airport. Minnesota was the birthplace of the Greyhound bus system. Today, 72 bus lines and 67 motor freight lines carry passengers and freight from the upper Midwest to every corner of the nation. No wonder Minneapolis is a vigorous, prosperous city. Nicollet Avenue in the heart of its business district reflects the energy and productivity of its people. Shopping centers in the outlying sections conveniently house supermarkets, hardware, variety, clothing, and department stores, all in one unit. Hiawatha would have been pleased with Minneapolis. It's one of the world's most delightful cities. It's often referred to as a park filled with homes. Hiawatha Avenue leads to famous Minnehaha Park, where beautiful Minnehaha Falls seems to whisper softly. Thus it was that Hiawatha, to the lodge of old Nokomis, brought the moonlight, starlight, firelight, brought the sunshine of his people. Minnehaha Laughing Water, handsomest of all the women in the land of the Dakotas, in the land of handsome women. Actually, there are 151 landscape parks and 22 lakes within the city limits. The attractive home of the average Minneapolis citizen is only 5 minutes away from a lake where pike and bass await his lure. All the recreation activities that go with lakes and sunshine, beauty and health, are but minutes away from all Minneapolis people. It's only natural that here you can enjoy America's greatest summer festival, the 10-day Minneapolis Aquatennial. Owning a home in Minnesota is like living in a year-round vacation resort. It's natural that Minnesota ranks among the top 10 states in the nation in home ownership and percentage of cars to families. And it's natural, too, that this way of life attracts and holds unusual people, a people higher in intelligence and literacy, with greater skills and greater stability. Because of the character and ability of its people, the upper Midwest has attracted some of the nation's most highly skilled industries. Minneapolis Honeywell is a name known around the world. From childhood, people everywhere have associated the word Honeywell with the comfort of the furnace thermostat. Today, because of continuous research in temperature, humidity, combustion, pressure, fission, and flight, the name Honeywell means many things to many people. Honeywell means control, control born of research. Many other so-called brain industries make good use of the skill, education, and stability of upper Midwest people. Throughout Minnesota, industrial employment has been increasing at twice the national rate. In 1952, the Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing Company, known as the 3M Company, celebrated its 50th anniversary. In the last 20 years, the 3M Company's sales volume grew from a little over $3 million annually to over $185 million. Today, this St. Paul firm is one of the nation's largest manufacturers of abrasives, pressure-sensitive masking tape, and all types of cellophane tape. Minneapolis is the milling capital of the world, headquarters for the world's 4 largest milling companies. The famous brands of America's flour, mixes, cereals, and foods come from Minnesota companies. And new businesses are continuing to come to Minneapolis. In 1953, the Prudential Insurance Company began construction of a new $6 million North Central home office building. From the new building will be administered $3.5 billion of insurance in the upper Midwest. The new building will be staffed by 1,500 employees, bringing an additional payroll of some $5 million annually to the Minneapolis area. Near the shores of lovely Lake Minnetonka, a brief 20-minute drive from Minneapolis, several national companies have their headquarters. This brings up an important fact about Minnesota's way of life and the industry of America. During one of the country's worst national strikes, a Minnesota Labor Union Federation bought newspaper space to announce that in Minnesota, workers would rather fish with the boss than fight with him. It's better, said the ad, to reach a sportsmanlike agreement by themselves because you can't go fishing with a government bureau. One of the world's largest farm implement and tractor companies likes the upper Midwest's way of life. Minneapolis Moline manufactures all types of farm implements, from tractors and plows to harvesters and corn pickers. Wherever the soil is tilled and harvests are reaped, you'll see the well-known double M. Because of ample supplies of water, coupled with plenty of electric power, and the skill and stability of the people, more than $4 billion worth of products flow from upper Midwest manufacturing plants each year. But wealth from manufacturing is just the beginning. More than 1/4 of all upper Midwest dollars come from farm products. 85% of all farmland acres of this entire 3 1/3 state area are rich and productive. When the snow melts from the land of lakes, the stream water, restless with the warmth of spring, makes mockery of the ice that silenced it. Then the plows move across the fertile land. Soon the fields are lush and green, encouraged by the promise in the sunlight, a promise of the warmth of summer. North Dakota is first in the nation in the production of spring wheat with a value of more than $200 million. Among all the states, South Dakota is first in the production of rye. Minnesota leads in the production of flax, valuable as a source of linseed oil for paint and linseed meal for farm feed. But the agricultural strength of the upper Midwest lies in the diversity of crops, in the fact that it's more than a one-crop area. In a typical year, Minnesota's corn production is 4th in the nation. For oats, barley, and rye, Minnesota ranks 2nd and 3rd. For hay, soybeans, and potatoes, Minnesota is 5th, 6th, and 7th. Income from livestock and livestock products places Minnesota 3rd in the nation. In the production of butter, the land of 10,000 lakes leads all other states and has one of the largest creamery product marketing organizations in the world. And in egg production, Minnesota ranks second. The total farm income for the upper Midwest is almost $2.5 billion, making it one of the richest farm markets in the world. The average cash income per farm family from farm marketings is $8,300, more than $2,000 above the national farm family average. Minnesota has another source of wealth: tourists. They're attracted by the same love of wilderness that inspired Longfellow to write, "Ye who love the haunts of nature, love the sunshine of the meadow, love the shadow of the forest, love the wind among the branches, and the rushing of great rivers." Listen to these wild traditions, to this song of Hiawatha. Today, over smooth modern highways, more than 1 million vacation travelers come to Minnesota each year. They come for the beauty of the lakes and sweet-smelling forests. More than 3,400 resorts and lodges cater to every taste, from Riviera luxury to Spartan simplicity. 100,000 guests a day can be comfortably housed in Minnesota's resort facilities. Altogether, these tourists spend over $200 million a year for vacation recreation. In addition to attracting tourists, the great forests of the upper Midwest create another source of wealth: lumbering. Under a careful program of scientific reforestation, large companies harvest a huge timber crop each year. The yearly value of forest products is nearly $140 million. The largest of the nation's inland waters, Lake Superior, provides the key to another source of upper Midwest wealth. The singing words of Hiawatha immortally describe the mightiest of lakes. By the shores of Gitche-Gumee, by the shining Big Sea water, stood the wigwam of Nokomis, daughter of the moon, Nokomis. Dark behind it rose the forest, rose the black and gloomy pine trees, rose the firs with cones upon them. Bright before it beat the water, beat the clear and sunny water, beat the shining Big Sea water. Into the harbor of Duluth come the great ore boats, riding high with empty buoyancy, departing laden heavy with treasure of civilization, the ore that tomorrow becomes America's strength, the structure of a skyscraper, the flashing traffic stream of a great city, the steel of an aircraft carrier to ensure that the future shall belong to the free. North and west of Duluth stretch 3 great iron ranges: the Mesabi, the Vermilion, and the Cuyuna. For nearly 70 years, iron ore from these ranges has supplied most of the ore devoured by America's steel mills. In a normal year, nearly 100 million tons of ore are shipped from the head of the Great Lakes. This is more than 80% of all of the iron ore used in steel making in the United States. More than 50 million tons of this ore are shipped annually out of Duluth alone, and total shipments of 75 million tons of all commodities make this port the nation's second busiest, topped only by New York. The scope of this work is so great that it directly and indirectly supports 250,000 people. A few years ago, some mining experts felt that Minnesota's iron ore ranges would be completely mined out in another 20 years. Most ore being mined today contains about 50% pure iron and can be introduced directly into a smelting furnace. This ore exists in huge pockets, or raisins, spread over the flat cake of northeastern Minnesota rock. But the bedrock itself, called taconite, contains from 25 to 30% pure iron. Taconite exists in a solid bed, up to 200 feet thick and 100 miles in length, probably enough to last 150 years. The trouble with taconite was that no one could figure out a practical way to extract the iron. Several years ago, scientists at the University of Minnesota, working with mining company engineers, began research on this very challenging problem. Today, they've developed a practical method of separation and concentration, which results in small, round pellets containing 65% iron. Like high-grade iron ore, these pellets can be introduced directly into a smelting furnace. New taconite plants are being built by such firms as U.S. Steel, Republic, Armco, and Bethlehem Steel. Hundreds of millions of dollars are being spent now, and total expenditures may reach $1 billion. This ensures the future of Minnesota's iron mining industry and a continuing supply for the steel mills of America. And back in the spring of 1951, a strange activity was taking place on the wheat fields of North Dakota. A towering oil rig was drilling a well on the Clarence Iverson farm. By April, they struck oil, and immediately the Williston Basin became the hottest oil development in the nation. The Williston Basin contains about 118,000 square miles. Two-thirds of the area is in the United States. In the first amazing 24 months, 11 known fields were discovered. But it'll probably be years before all the known reserves can be proven. Estimates make it comparable in size with Oklahoma, California, or West Texas. Never in the history of oil men has a new area enjoyed such rapid development. By the end of this initial period, 70 rigs towering 180 feet above the prairie were already drilling in the basin. And in that short time, there were nearly 150 producing wells in North Dakota alone. 15,000 barrels of oil a day were flowing from the fields. Oil men estimate a potential growth to 250,000 barrels a day by 1960. Construction of new refineries was begun. Near Minneapolis, a refinery began expansion, which will increase its capacity from 9,000 barrels a day to 30,000 barrels. Work was completed on a new refinery in Duluth, and well along on one at Mandan, North Dakota. Plans were made for pipelines to carry the crude oil to populous market areas. Petrochemical experts looked into the possibilities of new fiber and plastics industry. It's estimated that the value of the oil alone will add $200 million a year in new wealth to the upper Midwest by 1960. From the earth of North Dakota comes another source of wealth, lignite, a low-grade coal. 1/3 of the nation's solid fuel reserves lie in North Dakota and Montana. In North Dakota alone, there's enough lignite to supply the entire United States for 300 years. The heating energy of lignite is about half that of bituminous coal, and its high moisture content makes shipping impractical. But lignite holds the promise of vast new wealth for the upper Midwest. A new research laboratory built by the United States Bureau of Mines at Grand Forks holds a key to the future. Scientists are searching for practical methods of converting lignite into gasoline, diesel fuel, nylon, plastics, and fertilizer. The key of science may unlock lignite's energy and create new industries for the upper Midwest. And speaking of new wealth in the future, thousands of men are busy today spending billions of dollars to remake nature's face. As part of the Missouri River Basin Plan, 5 great dams are being built in the Dakotas. These dams will create a chain of lakes, some of which are longer than Lake Ontario. Garrison Dam will impound the waters of the Missouri. Soon, electric power will be generated. When this vast program is completed, it may change the whole pattern of living for millions of people. It will make possible irrigation for millions of acres of land. Generate electricity perhaps 4 times as much as now is produced in the area. Help put an end to disastrous floods. provide more dependable navigation on the lower Missouri River, and assure a source of water for cities and towns. Throughout the entire upper Midwest, new wealth is being added. New wealth from manufacturing, food processing, agriculture, livestock and livestock products. New wealth from tourists, transportation, lumbering, iron mining and taconite, oil, and lignite. New wealth that creates one of the greatest consumer markets in America, the rich upper Midwest market. A market composed of more than 4.5 million people, with an effective buying income of over $5.35 billion, who spend more than $5 billion each year on retail goods. A market that can be best reached and sold through the Minneapolis Star and Tribune, newspapers with a home delivery force of more than 10,000 carrier salesmen in 1,249 upper Midwest cities and towns, and 1,000 farm service route salesmen, serving a market of 1,300,000 homes. This is comparable to the number of homes in the combined cities of Philadelphia, San Francisco, and St. Louis. This 224-county market contains 140 cities of 2,500 or more population, all welded together into one market through the coverage of the Minneapolis Sunday Tribune. It reaches 40 counties with family coverage of 10 to 20%, 62 more counties with 20 to 40%, and 85 counties with 40 to 100%, for an average family coverage of 48% of the entire upper Midwest. The Minneapolis Sunday Tribune has a circulation of more than 620,000. Only 4 cities in the United States, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia, have Sunday newspapers with larger circulations. Every year, the people in this market spend over $1 billion for food. That's more than is spent in the city of Chicago. Drug sales total more than $145 million, as much as in Los Angeles and Pittsburgh combined. Lumber, building, and hardware store sales, more than $812 million. This is $21 million more than in the combined New York and Chicago metropolitan areas. General merchandise sales, including department and variety stores, $720 million. Automotive and filling station sales, more than $1 billion. And total retail sales of $5 billion. The Minneapolis Star and Tribune serve one of the richest markets in America, the highly diversified, expanding upper Midwest market. The Pulitzer Prize, the Raymond Clapper Award, 2 University of Missouri medals for distinguished service in journalism are just a few of the 300 awards and honors bestowed upon Minneapolis Star and Tribune staff members in the last 6 years. These awards are a tribute to the people and the qualities that make a newspaper great: the honesty, humanness, perception, and courage of its staff. Yes, Hiawatha must be pleased now. His vision has been fulfilled. Here is how he spoke it. Of the distant days that shall be, I beheld the westward marches of the unknown crowded nations. All the land was full of people, restless, struggling, toiling, striving, speaking many tongues, yet feeling but one heart beat in their bosoms. In the woodlands rang their axes, smoked their towns in all the valleys. Over all the lakes and rivers rushed their great canoes of thunder. And the words he gave his people are the words that express our feelings toward those who come to live with us. Let us welcome then the strangers, hail them as our friends and brothers, and the heart's right hand of friendship give them when they come to see us.